My name is AnimesSelect, and welcome to another AnimesSelect anime review. And today we'll be talking about an anime that I'm actually quite surprised a good number of people remember, or even actually just generally know about in the anime community. Now you may be asking yourself, what the hell is this? And why does everybody look so lanky and have Benedict Cumberbatch cheekbones? And why does this guy look like Michael Jackson? And why doesn't he have on any pants? Well, this, my friends, is Reign the Conqueror. It's an anime that I remember bits and pieces of from when I was growing up and I was watching Adult Swim, where a lot of my anime history comes from. Mostly bits and pieces because, one, I never actually watched the show, and two, the animation and the character designs always freaked me out. Speaking of character designs, many of you may actually recognize this kind of style, being from the one and only Peter Chung, whose most noted works are a short segment in the short compilation series The Animatrix, and most notably and I guess famously, his show Aeon Flux. Funny enough, I was watching an Aeon Flux review done by Bennett the Sage down on Anime Abandoned, and watching that review and seeing the style that Aeon Flux was done in kind of sent me into flashbacks of Reign the Conqueror. Now, there was hardly any information out there about this anime, so pardon me if it's not a lot. Reign the Conqueror, or Alexander Senki, was an anime that was first released in 1999. It is a unique series in the sense that it was done by Korean animators. And like I said before, character designs were done by noted Korean American Peter Chung. But unlike Aeon Flux, Peter Chung had jack diddly to do with this story as far as I know of. Oh no, this whole thing we can blame on Hiroshi Aramata. See, this anime is based off of his book, which is a reimagining of the life of Alexander the Great Conqueror. Now, if you know anything about Alexander the Great from high school, I guess, then you have to remember the fact that the man was a complete badass on the battlefield. I mean, he expanded his empire that started in Macedonia to Egypt, Persia, and Greece in his 32-year lifespan. I would count that as impressive. Anyway, going back to the anime, the title was originally released under direction from voice actor Jack Fletcher, but Tokyopop picked up the title and redid the dub Fletcher did, and released it out into the world in 2003. Apparently, Tokyopop retained the rights to the first 4 episodes of the series containing Fletcher's original dub, and used them for the first 4 episodes of the American release. It used the second dub for the remaining episodes. I find it funny that they did all of this and went through all these lengths to get this series out. And then when you go look it up on their website, it's almost like the thing never really even existed. So since I had never really seen the show, I didn't really have anything to work off of. No real solid reviews, no real good rating system unless you count the one on Anime News Network, but that one's really not that reliable half the time. So, was my younger self trying to tell me something by blocking out memories of this show for so many years? Well, my friends, we're about to find out. This is Reign the Conqueror. Now, the story follows the life of Alexander the Great, King of Macedonia. And this story is based off of a reimagining of his life. Now, I, for one, am all for reimaginings. I like reimaginings, taking a very well-known tale and putting a new spin on it. I really like that kind of stuff, to see how creative people can get when they're handed something that people know backward and forward, and seeing if they can do anything different with it. Alexander was the son of Philip, the second king of Macedonia, and Olympias, a snake witch. Now, this is actually true. Alexander's mother was in a snake cult and was rumored to have sex with snakes. And they decided to keep this little bit in, as in the first episode, you see this.
I shall never forgive you this.
Yeah. Anyway, it was apparently prophesied to her that Alexander would take over the world one day. But yeah, like I said before, the story is supposed to be about his rise to power through his military prowess. But here's that stupid element that comes in out of nowhere. Apparently, Alexander's teacher, Aristotle, yes, that Aristotle, and a bunch of other Greek philosophers have a bit of a story going on too. Aristotle is Plato. Yes, that Plato. Aristotle is Plato's estranged student, and apparently is trying to find this thing he created called the Platohedron, which he created, I guess, in defiance of Pythagoras. Yes, that Pythagoras. See, this is the kind of weirdness that we're getting into. The Platohedron is something that the disciples of Pythagoras say can destroy the world, just like Alexander, so their mission is to take out both of them. And I'm guessing that Pythagoras called this hit out on both of them, although you don't even see Pythagoras until the end. So, you know, what was he doing? Why couldn't he just stop it? You know, if he's supposed to be this great mind who has done all these extraordinary things in the world, why can't he just find Alexander and kill him? Why didn't nobody go kill Alexander when he was a kid? I mean, not to sound harsh or anything, but kids are very defenseless. They're little squishy human beings. They can barely talk, let alone defend themselves. Again, not trying to be mean, but are you starting to see a pattern here? And I know that this is just one instance of it, but you will see this pattern happen a lot in this show. But let's continue. Now as we see Alexander and his army basically decimate city after city after city, it starts to concern everyone just how power hungry and determined Alexander is. Later on in the series, Aristotle is seen meeting with Diogenes. Yes, that Diogenes. Another philosopher who is pretty much Yoda in this show.
Oh, Plato's disciple. He comes to visit me, I see.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Aristotle comes seeking the Platohedron, which apparently Plato left in Diogenes' care. But surprise, surprise, apparently Diogenes, at the request of Plato, threw it out into the world, the chaotic world, where it was laying dormant for so many years. And apparently Alexander has the power to bring it back. I guess once his power levels reach over 9,000, he'll be able to resurrect it. Now the characters. There were a lot of characters in this thing, so I'll just give you a rundown of the main ones. First off, Alexander. Alexander seems to be cool, calm, and collected all the time. Very level-headed and barely if at all showing emotion. He is a rather bloodthirsty man and seems to possess a darker power than what normal people see. I mean, he was able to tame a man-eating horse in like a minute. But I mean, he has no emotion at all like 95% of the time. It's just weird at points, especially when you know he has to be emotional. Oh, and I didn't bring up the best part. Listen to him talk.
Waiting for speed? That's your explanation?
For an arrow to realize its maximum speed and complete effectiveness, it cannot be released before the bowstring's drawn taut, Father.
Hold your tongue!
Look closer.
That's how he talks.
But never mind the Michael Jackson wannabe. Let's move on down the list. I already brought up Aristotle and Plato and Diogenes, so I don't think I need to bring them up again. They were all kind of pointless and really did nothing to further the plot along, other than talk about the Platohedron. Well, I guess Aristotle did kind of move the plot forward. That was only through his niece Cassandra. Speaking of, I guess we could go to Cassandra next. So Cassandra is Alexander's childhood friend apparently, and was sworn to protect him by her uncle Aristotle. So Cassandra...
Yes, and with these skills I was told by my uncle to protect the prince. Oh, excuse me, I am to call you king now.
No.
But you can't stop that thing. Take Imakurus and get out of here. That's an order from—
Oh, Motoko. Philotas is his best friend and protector since birth, and does have doubts about Alexander at the start, mostly about his destructive ability. But of course, this very interesting plot point is thrown out the window. I know I'm forgetting somebody, but I just can't think of Roxanne. Oh no, not that Roxanne. Believe me though, I bet she's way more interesting than this one. Oh no, Roxanne, who I guess they're playing off to be his possible love interest because Alexander, the real one, did marry a woman named Roxanne. But this one has the personality of sandpaper. She says, what, 3-4 sentences in the entire series? And the first time we meet her is bullshit too. I mean, look at this.
occur.
Tell me, who are you?
I'm Roxanne.
I'm going to borrow this.
I mean, what was that? And I could go in on the dialogue in this show for hours, but I think that that one clip kind of summed up what you're in for here with this show. That's basically all the characters, just Alexander's friends and I guess his possible love interest who are all following blindly. I'm gonna assume it's because they want to sleep with him, because it can't be for the fact that he's a great general. We barely see him use any strategic moments in battle at all whatsoever. He basically goes in with no plan whatsoever, swords drawn, hoping for the best. Really? Really? With Alexander the Great, the greatest strategic mind of our time here on Earth? Really? He's just gonna go in with no plan? Now let's move on to the animation. The animation is a bit of a hodgepodge at times. And I think that this has to do with the fact that they last minute kind of put in 3D elements. Now the animation does have very nice moments, like this one when Olympias possesses the mind of Philip's new wife and causes her to hallucinate. And some perspective shots are very nice, but other times it feels awkward. Like it's not fluid enough like Aeon Flux, but not restricted enough to be like, I don't know, Love Hina. Because once again, this was kind of on the balancing pole of when computer animation was just in its infancy. Like I said before, the animation being a hodgepodge, it's also very lazy. I mean, using recuts of scenes that have already happened and even in some instances sticking a night filter over it. I mean, really. I have to talk about it. The outfits. Now I know I've seen Aeon Flux, so I really shouldn't be surprised with Peter Chung's like taste in outfits for people. But I mean, look at some of this stuff. Although I must say it is a nice turn of events to see the male characters of this show dressed in what would pass as armor for a female warrior in an MMORPG. But then you get things like this and yeah, I'm gonna put this on top of that. Now for the music. You can even call it that. I mean, it's pretty generic stuff. Nothing really stands out except for the opening. That long opening. It's 3 minutes long. I am not even joking. The same 3-minute opening for 13 episodes. I thought it was an AMV at first. And there really is no ending theme. It's just whatever song is playing at the end of the clip. I normally don't talk about sound mixing too much, but I guess that's because a lot of the shows that I saw had really good sound mixing. I guess I'll start having to talk about sound mixing from now on because this show has proved just why I need to point out good sound mixing in shows. They keep using the same sound for when people get injured or cut, and it sounds like a bunch of tomatoes squishing in a can. Although I will give them this, the assassin thingies do make the best noise I've ever heard of in my life. I guess since we're at the end of all the basic things, I can go into just why this show is just so stupid. First thing first, the world this story is set in does not make sense. It's supposed to be, I guess, a kind of futuristic advanced society thing going on in Europe. When you see how advanced these civilizations are, and the fact that they must have boats because of trade issues and maybe even submarines when you see some of the technology that they have. You mean to tell me that they have not ventured out so far into the ocean that one day they just hit another piece of land and bam, found North America, or bam, found South America? Another complaint along with this technology is that they don't know how to make guns. They have moving catwalks like the Jetsons, rotating metal chairs, electricity, mechanized soldiers, wind up toys. They should be able to make a gun. You see this right here? You see what that is? That is an automatic archer. An automatic archer. You can create this, but not a gun. And I'm not saying like a semi-automatic. Oh no, a musket. You can create a musket. With this technology, you should be able to create a musket, at the very, very least. I mean, Aristotle is building a cyborg. A cyborg. You see it in his lab, hanging up like something out of iRobot. And yet he cannot make a gun. He can't make a gun. He can make a cyborg, but don't ask him to make a gun. Oh my God, no. How do you make a gun? Now, I can understand why you wouldn't want to have guns, because then it would take away from the fact that Alexander was a great leader, I guess, in the fact that he didn't need guns to win a war. No, he used his brains and his army speed and what they had being spears and swords and shields. But the thing is, then you shouldn't have set your story in this universe. Now to move on to the Platohedron. The Platohedron, as I look at it, for me is a symbol of Alexander's complete reign when he was 32, as he brought in a new band of philosophers and mathematicians during his short time as ruler and his legacy that followed. But why not just have that? Why have this whole convoluted thing with the Platohedron and ultimate power and yada yada yada? Why not just show the man basically being what he is, a badass? Alexander the Great was a badass. Like I said before, he never lost a battle. Why not show that? Why not show him using his mind and his military speed out on the battlefield, showing him making brilliant strategic moves? That would be really interesting, rather than have this really dumb subplot about a Platohedron, which in the end just is a kind of stupid form of symbolism. Another thing is, if this Platohedron is so important, why didn't you tell us anything about it and what it could do sooner than episode 10 out of a 13 episode series? That's a bit late, don't you think? I mean, I've been racking my brain over this thing for the last 9 episodes, and just now you're gonna tell me? At this point, I don't even really care. Wouldn't you want us to know about this thing from the start? The very latest being maybe episode 3? I mean, this show kind of drops you off in the middle of the Platohedron plot, like you're supposed to automatically pick up on it and know what's going on. No, I don't know what's going on. What is this? I thought I was going to be watching a show about Alexander the Great and how great he was. Also, everyone seems to have jolt away from the bad trope-itis, and I find it quite annoying. But I have to say, the biggest, most ultimate complaint that I have is how they undermined Alexander. Not the character in the anime, but the actual person. Like I said, I'm all for reimaginings and retellings, but this is really, really stupid. Especially when you have such wonderful source material to work from. And you found something apparently completely wrong in that story, with the fact that the guy was such a brilliant strategic general and that his armies were the fastest out there and that he could conquer a city in a whole day just like it was nothing. And you chose to add in this Platohedron crap, which in the end didn't do anything, because like I said, it was all just a metaphor for him ushering in a new dawn of philosophers and mathematicians. You don't believe me? Okay, look at the end of this scene, which is the end of this series. You see that kid? That's Euclid, a mathematician, and he has the Platohedron. He is holding an old source of power and using it to create new ways of envisioning mathematics. And what does Alexander say?
What is it that you are looking at?
The creation of the world. I am witnessing the world I destroyed being recreated and reborn right before my eyes.
Exactly. Exactly. It's one giant metaphor. There's an episode where Alexander consorts with one of his soldiers about possibly making plans for a city at this location where his army is camped up in, and his name is Dinocrates. When he goes to him, Dinocrates has no idea who he is. Why? why. He's been fighting for this man for who knows how long now. Maybe like a month or 2 or 6? How do you not know the man who's leading your army? Who is Roxanne? Like I said before, she has the personality of sandpaper, and she doesn't say or do anything, and she pops up out of nowhere, like when she appeared on Darius III's warship. Like, were you engaged to him? Are you his consort? Are you just there to watch? Are you a servant? Who are you? What are you? I mean, really, where did you come from? There are only 2 battles shown in this entire series. Why not more? And I mean, I'm not even counting glimpses of battle where they recut scenes from other battles into it. Oh no, I'm talking about completely new footage. So that would be the first battle at the very beginning and the battle in the middle where he first meets up with Darius III. Because they recut that stuff and basically use it for the ending fight with Darius. Where did this come from? Who thought of this? What is this? I feel like I'm on acid. Come on. We can get through this. We're almost there, people. We're almost there. This show is bad. I mean, really bad. But I think that the biggest insult for me was, like I said earlier, with it being the fact that they undermined Alexander. They made it look like his whole source of power came from this Platohedron, which was really just a sloppily done symbol of him ushering in a new era. Not because he had great tactical skill, not because he had a strong army, not because he was a great strategist. No, because of magic. That would be like if someone decided to do the story of Hannibal and his conquest, but saying that it wasn't because he was a great general or strategist. No, it was all about the magic of the elephants and their fire-breathing trunks. That's what won him all those battles. So yeah, unlike Eon Flux, Peter Chunk, you were off the hook for this one. Other than whatever that outfit is and whatever this was, my rating for Reign the Conqueror is a unequivocal, strongly held 2 out of 10. The only thing I can find redeemable with this series was that at some moments it made me laugh. Unintentionally though. The world it's set in makes no sense. The characters are one-dimensional. It's just a horrible, horrible thing. And you can barely hear the main character when he talks. I mean, at least I can attribute the fact you can't hear me to a horrible mic. But at least it's over with. It's over. If you want to watch it, there are still DVDs out there that they sell on Amazon.com. That's where I got mine, though I don't know why you would. In all honesty, in my searching for this series, I came across an abridged series. You can find it on YouTube, and I'll leave a link down below. The sad thing is that they stopped when they were on episode 8 and haven't updated in a couple of years. Which is a shame, because now that I have seen this travesty, I would really like to see where this abridged parody takes it. But I guess that's the one good thing that came out of this mess, was that I got a funny abridged parody before that stopped too. And if they are watching, I hope that you guys come back to it, because you really made watching this travesty kind of worth it, just so you can go back and laugh at it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna try and wash the taste of this anime out of my mouth. This is AnimesSelect, signing off. I'll see you all in the next review.